Good morning, students. So we will continue with the last session. Let me share my screen. Okay, so we actually finished with the other aspects, and now morale and productivity. Productivity is an outcome of morale, which is an outcome of organizational climate. And productivity describes various measures of the efficiency of the production. Okay, so this is the last bit what we have left the other day. And coming to the organizational change. Now, what do you mean by organizational change? What is change? Change is to make different in some particular manner. It is radically different. It gives a different position, course, or direction, and it replaces with another, or it can be a shift from one to another, or it is to undergo a modification or undergo transformation, transition, or substitution. So, the change is defined as relatively enduring alteration of present state. Alteration to the existing state of organization is called as organizational change. And what is management? Management is nothing but what the manager does. And what does the manager does? He will try to execute things, administrate things, supervise and give direction, coordinate the things, and as well as control. So change management can be defined as a structured process that will cause proposed changes to be reviewed for technical and business readiness in a consistent manner. So it involves a database to help staff make better decisions about future changes. The future changes based on historical data such as success or failure or of similar changes. Now, coming to the nature of the change process, when we are talking about the change, everything is not the same in this world except the change. So I told you earlier also, the only constant in change is change. Perhaps this is the only word that is more prominently and persistently used in almost all the conversations managers across the sectors of the business. So the nature of the change can be understood from at least 5 phases of organizational cycle. That is growth, absorption, adaptation, transition and transformation, development, and effectiveness. Change, when we are talking about growth, change is undisputedly the most significant propeller of business growth across all the segments of the industry. Like a tree which starts with the germination of a seed resulting in the shoots coming out of the ground and the roots going deep into the ground. Organizations can also be considered as plants and trees that grow. So in every phase of growth of the organization, there is evidence of some change, like a plant with physical appearance changing. Organizations also change. It can be from physically from small number of people to a large size, a small capital investment to huge companies, few machines in the initial stage of the start of the business, and then maybe they grow into many machines, narrow product line to a wider product line. Now, the local customer base to geographical base has been expanded. So when we are talking about the growth, growth can be in terms of men, machine, people, capital, anything. So generally, an organization is not constant. Once it starts, once it is established, it starts growing. Now, absorption and adaptation. So I've given the example of a plant, like a plant or a tree. that absorbs all the nourishments like nutrients, sunlight, water, carbon dioxide from soil and air, and adapts to the physical environment. Similarly, organizations also absorb the resources available to them in the form of land, capital, technology, people, information, and they get adapted to these forces of competition from the business environment. So there is an element of change and changing at every facet of business. Every manager, every employee also absorbs and adapt as a member of the organization. Now, transition and transformation. So, like a tree which transits from being a sapling to a plant, every organization also transits from being a startup to a micro or small or medium to a large enterprise. So at every transition, there are quite a lot of changes organizations experience in the behavioral as well as the non-behavioral aspects. And this experience is called as transformation. And coming to the development, a tree is known for its development by its fruits or the blossoms, the flowers, whatever it gives. So when a tree does not bear fruits, it is considered barren. Therefore, development is a phase characterized by the fruits or the profits of the organization make. Without profits, organizations cannot survive. And to ensure that organizations realize their return on their investments, managers will continuously try to accomplish their plans. They try to achieve their targets and goals, and then they try to consciously do the business, observing the environment, observing the competition, observing the strategies followed by others, and then develop and grow. And then you have effectiveness. A tree is known by its fruits and considered good only when its fruits are enjoyed by all the people around it. So, unless the fruits are shared among all around the tree, it is considered ineffective or unsuccessful. Therefore, organizations are also considered effective when the profits are shared among their stakeholders. So organizations are viewed as effective when only the stakeholders are satisfied. So to ensure that all the stakeholders are satisfied, organizations should make every effort to make profits. So such efforts are reflected broadly as change efforts. So these are the phases, what we generally observe in the organizations until right from the beginning, right from the inception to the success what they have made. Now, why change is important? So Jim Collins, in his book, as mentioned earlier, found that companies have disappeared after tasting large-scale success. Why? What are the reasons for the downfall? It can be excessive arrogance resulting in closed mind, being undisciplined in their pursuance, they use up all the profits and surplus in unproductive business, or companies did not foresee the risk or the perils which are there in their future, or struggling for breath, that is, trying all the tricks to survive. However, you want to survive, so you try to use all the tricks, or fall to irrelevance or death. So all these changes suggest that a timely change would have saved the organizations and the world from the losses. Now, technology. Technology refers to the procedures, criteria, and the methods adopted to produce goods and services. So in order to do so, machines are made to produce either manually or semi-automatic or totally automatic. It is technology which gave meaning to modernity in today's life. So whatever the industrial revolutions we are talking in the earlier century has led to invention and innovations of new machines, resulting in large-scale production. So when organizations point, if the organizations were able to adapt to the technologies. So they were very happily able to survive in the market. They were focusing on the future. They were able to make profits. And the next point can be the customer satisfaction. So, customer satisfaction refers to the extent which the customers develop. Either it can be the liking for the products or the services offered by the organizations according to their expectations and value for their money, which spends on them. So, organizations should continuously understand what the customer wants, the needs, their expectations, their changing preferences and tastes. Okay. Based on that, you have to constantly monitor, constantly do the, you have to do continuously the market research and then try to improvise your product and give the best to the customer what has been asked. And economy, it is changing from time to time. The economic growth rates are fluctuating due to political instability across the world. And organizations are the victims of economic instability. It can be talking about money circulation or political scenario in different countries or the policies of the government, the fiscal policies of the government. So all these will definitely have its effect over the organization. And when we are talking about the growth, change is always important in every part of lives because where the personal life or professional life, change will help us to accomplish the desired goals. You cannot be stagnant and you cannot be say, no, I'm not flexible. I'm happy the way I am living. No, because whenever the environment is changing, whenever the order of the society is changing, we need to adapt. We need to adapt and we need to survive. Now, what can be the types of changes? It can be the strategic change. So, a strategy refers to a long-term business plan to position business from its current state to a much better state sometime in the future. For example, the markets, it must target the kinds of products it must make and sell, how to sell them, where to sell them, whether it is national or international market, and if at all it is a global activity, what are the strategies you are following to achieve the global success? So, strategic change is something what the organization will try to accomplish by proper planning, proper mission, or it can be a program, or it can be a plan through which the organizations will strive to achieve the success. It can be structural change. Structure refers to the roles and positions people occupy in an organization. So, to address the hurdles, organizations often find it necessary to restructure the company's response so that they are able to meet the targets of the external environment. So structural changes involve, it can be the hierarchy of authority or business goals, organizational characteristics, or it can be the administrative procedures, or it can be the management systems. So such change in an organization will be resulting in uh, overhauling the complete system. Okay. For example, a company might change from functional structure to a small or a medium enterprise, and then maybe the divisional structure, so on and so forth. So the process-oriented change, it refers to the procedures, criteria, and methods adopted to produce goods and services. So organizations generally, they sense the need to redesign the processes so that they can achieve the desired workflow and productivity. And process-oriented change is always related to an organization procedures or production process or how the organizations are manufacturing products and how they are delivering the services, so on and so forth. And people-centered stage, the most challenging type of change is people-centered change because machines can be changed, organizational structure can be changed. Based on the environment, you might change the manufacturing process and production. But people, they come with emotions, they come with their own egos, they come with their own feelings, and such kind of people to be handled by the organization is very, very difficult. Okay, so people-centered change involves processes like communicating, motivating, leading, interpersonal relationship with the groups, and so that the behaviors of the people are aligned to achieve the business goals. Now, the contingency-centered stage, it refers to the purposeful or situational. So it can be anticipatory changes. Now, anticipatory, you foresee the future, you plan changes based on the expected situations. Okay. Reactive changes are the responses made to the unexpected situations. And they are also incremental changes. So the subsystem adjustments which are made one by one required to keep the organization on course. So any of these changes can be purposeful or situational. And organizational change may also be either reactive or proactive. Reactive changes occurs when forces compel organizations. I mean, they force the organizations to implement the change without delay. Okay. And proactive changes occur when some factors make realize organizations, like, see, you please think over and please decide whether these changes can be implemented. And these are necessary. These changes are necessary for the organizational growth and development. Now, forces for change in organization. So here we can see that the forces for change, they are external forces and internal forces. External forces are globalization, workforce diversity, technological change, managing the ethical behavior. And the internal forces can be the nature of workforce, change in the managerial staff, deficiencies in existing organizational structure, developmental inertia. All these are the internal forces. So the first one being the globalization, it is external forces. It describes the increased mobility of the goods and services, or it can be the labor, technology, or capital from the domestic front to the international front all over the world. Although globalization is not a new development, but its pace has increased because of the technological uh, changes, or the when we talk about the telecommunication, there are a lot many changes which are happening, because of which there is intensification of economic, political, social, and cultural linkages amongst people. And what about the workforce diversity? So when we are talking about diversity, it refers to the varying categories of people across the world. So most of them, they converge at work in the organization. I mean, diverse workplaces are composed of employees who are coming with different characteristics, okay, with different or religious backgrounds, or political backgrounds, or beliefs, or gender, or what do we say, the culture, education, socioeconomic status. Okay, so all these are called as diversity. So when we are talking about the workforce diversity is people working with different backgrounds under a team. Okay, and this has caused cross-cultural challenges, or the managers had to face so many challenges to adapt themselves to deal with different workforces. Now, coming to the technological change refers to an increase in the efficiency of the product or process that results in an increase in output. And this increase in an output is without an increase in inputs. In other words, it says that you have to improve the product or process. And then we have the managing the ethical behavior. Ethics refers to the beliefs and actions and the ways which are consistent. It can be with that of the society or the individuals. Now, ethical behavior tends to be good for business, and it involves demonstrating respect for key moral principles like honesty, fairness, equality, dignity, diversity, individual rights, so on and so forth. So, managers are expected to ensure that employees behave ethically with each other in the organization, also with the customers. And what can be the internal forces, the nature of the workforce? So when we observe 70% of the workforce are predominantly male, and during 90s, when women started participating in the workforce by 30%. So this is the observation during 70s. In 2000s, female participation is almost equal or more than males. So workforce is not just represented by men and women. And then we have change in managerial staff. So 2 decades ago, managerial staff was represented by, say, old and very experienced people. So, and now if we see it as the younger generation now have access to higher education and managerial positions they are able to achieve in their mid 20s. So, there is a change in the managerial staff. Retired and old managers are being called to coach the young managers and preparing them for higher leadership positions. And then we have deficiencies in existing organizational structure. It defines the roles and the positions, the tasks for the people, which will actually facilitate the flow of communication, decisions, and accountability from top to bottom, and responsibilities from bottom to top. So the accountability from top to bottom, and the responsibility of the functions is from bottom to top. And such flow happens between line functionaries and staff functionaries. And as we have discussed in the conflict, line and staff functionaries are often causing conflict. So such situations demand uh, resorting to a change in the organizations. And developmental inertia. So inertia in physics refers to the tendency of a body at rest or to remain at rest. So, similarly, when we are talking about the organizations, even they tend to develop inertia. So, from the organization point of view, inertia is nothing but inflexibility of being same, of being in the same state, and they don't change due to various reasons. So, in some cases, project or product failures result because of maintaining the inertia state. Resistance to change, when we are talking, what is resistance? People resist change in general because they are already habituated towards doing things in a certain manner. So they generally they resist the change because they are happy in the state what they are. So what can be the individual sources of resistance to change? It can be the habits, as I already said, or it can be the safety and security. So people in general have tendency to I mean they have the feeling that they're not in a position to take the threat of losing the job in the future, and they have the tendency to safeguard themselves from any kind of threat. So therefore they are likely to resist the change because they feel threatened. They feel threatened about their safety, their future security, so on and so. And we also have the economic factors. So another source of individual resistance is changes will lower one's income. So the moment they accept the change, they feel that their performance will be not to the mark where the organizations are going to recognize. It can be the payment factors where they feel that they might not be productive and they are not productive. The payment will be again reduced. So these are the economic factors which will try to stop the workers to accept the jobs which are non-routine. So they are used to their routine work culture, so they don't feel like accepting a non-routine works. And you also have fear of loss. When a change is impending, some employees may fear losing their jobs, particularly when we are talking about the advanced technology like robotics. So I think in few organizations you might be knowing like robots are already working. They are trained because now why robot? The only thing is the initial investment is very high, but the rest of the things, robots does not need a lunch break. They don't need any motivation or morale. They don't need any pay hike. They don't often ask for the welfare measures. The working environment, whatever may be the environment, they are tuned to do the work in such kind of environment. So automation, introduction of robots or robotics is the fear of loss, what people resist to change, and fear of failure. So some employees fear change because now the next one being the organizational sources. So organizations are also a major source of resistance to change because of the organizational structure, which is rigid, and organizational climate, which is not favorable to people working in the such organizations. So, focus of change, organizations are made up of a number of interdependent subsystems. So, when any subsystem is changed, the other subsystems will also be affected. So, this is called as limited focus of change. So, for example, when new technologies are introduced, roles and positions and responsibilities will also change. So, when we are not able to understand such interdependencies, that will definitely cause resistance. And then you have the group inertia. Okay, inertia is a state of being inflexible, rest. So, group inertia, when I'm talking, it is the work groups which create certain norms. Okay, and they expect these norms to be followed by every member who is there in that particular group. And any initiative of introducing change might be contrary to the group norms and they resist the change. And sometimes you need expertise or experience, or you have established power relationships, or sometimes you have threat for the resource allocations. And the last one being the politics. So it refers to the power equations that members and groups weigh with them, okay, in order to influence the groups or the members or the individuals. And this is always based on the personal agenda. They have their agendas, and based on that, they try to resist the changes. So even the power has the relationships, how they empower the employees, okay, how they control the employees, and almost all. So the resource allocations, or it can be the expert knowledge or the expertise, or it can be the politics, will always have resistance to change. And the next one being the models of change process. We have Levin's three-step model of change. So Levin's change model is one of the most popular and effective models. And this was developed somewhere in the year 1950s. And you can also see that it also holds valid even today in 2020s and 2025, the model which has been developed by Kurt Lewin. Okay, now what does Kurt Lewin say? As I said, he has given the three steps or the three stages: unfreezing the status quo, movement to a new state or changing, refreezing the new change. Now, what is unfreezing? So, this is the first stage of the process of change. And according to Levin's method, it involves the preparation for the change. Suddenly, you cannot bring about a change in the organization. You need to mentally prepare the individuals, the employees, the people about the change what the organizations are trying to bring in. Mentally prepare them. Okay. The preparation to the change is very, very important. So once the organizations get prepared for the change, and also for the fact that change is crucial and needed, and then the phase of change slowly starts. Movement to new state. The second stage is wherein the real transition or change takes place. So the process may take time to happen as people usually adopt new ways, improvements, and changes. So at this stage, transformational leadership is very, very important. Who is a transformational leader? Who will lead to change, who will talk to the employees, mentally prepare them, and then lead to the change. So, communication, resources, all these are the determinants of the success during this particular stage. And then you have rephrasing the new change. As the change is accepted, now it is implemented by people or it is implemented by the company or the organization. Now it begins to become stable again for some period of time. So therefore, this stage is referred to as refreezing. In this stage, the employees and the processes, they begin to refreeze. I mean, leading them to normal life in the organization. So at this step, people try to make sure changes. They try to implement the changes uncompromisingly. And this is done until the purpose is achieved. So once this is achieved, you have the sense of stability. So employees are also getting comfortable and they become confident of acquiring the changes. And we also have McKinsey's 7S model. Now, this McKinsey's 7S model is a change framework. It is based on companies' organizational design. Okay, so it has 7S, that is why it is called as 7S model. We have shared values. I mean, the seven key elements are strategy. What is a strategy? It is the plan created to get past the competition and reach the goals. And it is a step-by-step procedure for the future plan. The structure is the stage or attribute that relates to the way in which the organization is divided. And the structure will also formed or divided in such a way where it can be followed. Then you have systems. In order to get the task done, the way in which the day-to-day activities are performed are related under systems. Shared values. These are referred to the core values or the main values of an organization. And then you have the style, the manner in which the changes and leaderships are adopted or implemented. Staff refers to the workforce or employees, and the skills are nothing but the competencies which are to be possessed by the employees. So Kotler's change management theory is again one of the most popular theory adopted by countless organizations in the world. And this model was devised by John P. Kotter, sorry, not Kotler, Kotter, John P. Kotter, who is a Harvard Business School professor and is the author of several books. And the key principles, according to Kotter, is sense of urgency. The sense of urgency amongst the people will motivate them to change, building the team, get the vision correct, communicate, get the things moving, focus on short term goals or instead of focusing on too many goals and take the pressure. Don't give up. Try and try until you get the success and then incorporate the change. We also have Beer and Associates model, and we also have Ram Narayan and Nilkant model. So all these are the models for the organizational change. And then we have the organizational development. So organizational development is a process, behavioral science, knowledge, practice to help organizational building capacity to change. So OD is defined to understand the problem and the process to address the problems and also to ensure the visible changes. So when we are talking about the organizational development, it differs from the planned change initiatives. Planned change such as technological innovation or new product development. Okay, so that is all comes under change program. Whereas the organizational development, when we are talking about, it is oriented towards the improving the total system of the organization. So it can be the team building, with the top corporate management, or it can be the structural changes in the organization, or it can be the job enrichment in the manufacturing organization. So why is organizational development important? So the effects of change, planned change might affect many areas of operations in the organization. And OD will be measuring the effect of change initiatives on these are immediately visible. And the methods of organizational change, the method is a conscious procedure which helps in the management of the change in the organizations. So it can be the preparation, it can be the communication, it can be the written plan, okay, and move along with the changes. So what are the factors influencing the OD success? The first and foremost is change is inevitable. Every organization which has established has to change. And how does it change? It changes by communicating what it wants to change. So for that, open communication is necessary. And it should also focus on the concerns and fears, what the organizations might have to face on a future day. So what are the OD interventions? So human resource management interventions are there where the HR department and other organizational development are not the same things. They do coordinate within the business. Okay. So employees wellness is another area of intervention. Employee and other organization members, they try to involve in improvising the organizational efficiency. Then you have the strategic change interventions. Okay. It can be a transformational change, it can be a continuous change, or it is trans-organizational change. Then you also have human process intervention or techno-structural intervention. So all these are very, very important. And what are OD techniques? Management by objectives, what we have learned in the earlier sections. Peter F. Drucker has given the OD management by objectives. In this intervention, every subordinate is encouraged to formulate their own objectives and finally to achieve the overall objectives of the organization. And then you have team building, role analysis technique, you have role negotiation technique, you have. Okay, so all these are the interventions which are required for the organizational development. So what are the steps involved? You have problem identification, the first step. And based on the problem, you need to collect the data, you need to diagnose what the problem is, and then apply the intervention, the appropriate intervention, which will actually improve the organizational development. Then you try to plan and implement it. And once you implement it, the process does not end there because there should be always a feedback or evaluation, which will help you to find out the deficiencies. This is what the organizational development will deal with. And now we have the last section, contemporary issues in organizational behavior. So when we are talking about the contemporary issues, the first and foremost will be the positive traits. So the role of enduring relatively stable positive traits will try to enhance the human performance in the workplace. And we also have the big five personality traits. The big five personality traits have been found to be related to individual level outcomes. And what are they? Happiness, physical, psychological health, spirituality, and identity. So all these come under the big five personality traits, which will endure an employee to perform better. Core self-evaluations. This is another classification of positive traits. Okay, so what are the core? You have four core self-evaluations of self-esteem, generalized self-efficacy, locus of control, and emotional stability. And you also have positive psychological traits. So the positive psychological traits can be the enduring character strengths, the virtues and values which lead the societies or the individuals. And these traits will always be considered as positive because these will try to mobilize the individuals from the lower order to the higher order. So, what are positive organizational behaviors? The self efficacy is the extent or strength of one's beliefs in one's own ability to complete the task and to achieve the organizational goals. The magnitude, the when I'm talking about the self-efficacy, it has three dimensions, that is the magnitude, strength, and generality. So magnitude applies to the level of task difficulty that a person believes he or she can attain. Okay, so it can be the first level, the second level difficulty, or the third level difficulty, or the fourth level difficulty. That is the magnitude. And the strength refers to whether the conviction regarding the magnitude is strong or weak. I mean, the belief what you have on yourself, is it strong or weak? Generality, it is the level of task difficulty that a person believes that he or she can attain. And what are the sources of self-efficacy? Past performance, or it can be the current experiences, verbal persuasion, or emotional cues. A positive motivational state that is based on an interactively derived sense of successful agency, that is goal oriented energy, pathways, that is the planning to meet the goals, is the hope. Hope consists of both the willpower and the way power. That is the agency part. Also, you have that is the goal oriented energy, and you also have the pathway, that is the planning to meet the goals. That is considered as hope. Optimism. It is a mental attitude uh, which we interpret the situations and events as being the best. And in the same way, for the factors that may not be fully comprehended, the present moments is an optimum state. You be optimistic, you see positivity. Okay, optimism can be in the workplace. You see, I mean, the co-workers friendly, always helping. You want to mingle with them and complete the task. And it can be the optimism with the well-being. And then you have the resilience. Now, what is the resilience? This phenomenon is characterized by patterns of positive adaptation in the context of significant adversity of risk. Okay, so where you have a positive feeling, a pattern, what you follow to adapt yourself to the environment which is adversely risky. I mean, there are chances of bounce back, but still you try to adapt yourself. That is called as resilience. And the psychological capital or PSYCAP. What is PSYCAP? Uh, PSYCAP is comprehensively defined as individual's positive psychological state of development that is characterized by having confidence. Confidence is self-efficacy, making a positive attribution, that is the optimism, persevering towards goals when necessary, redirecting paths to goals, this is hope. And when beset of the problem, that is when you have sustaining and bouncing back beyond, that is called as the resilience. Now, need for positive psychology in the workplace. Yes, you need it, because without of the positive psychology in the workplace, you cannot achieve anything. You need people to be uh, having self-efficacy, they need to have resilience, they need to have hope. Okay, so all these are required at the workplace. Now, how do you build a positive organizational behavior when we are talking about the individual level? Keep the employees engaged, make them feel important, cater to the professional and personal needs, recognize the effort, treat employees equally, and make the employees see the bigger picture. Okay, I mean, you don't want to stay your employees at the entry level, you want them to grow. Build the culture. Okay, and from coming to the organizational setup, you need to celebrate festivals, conduct sport tournaments, team outings, birthdays, ethnic days. You have grandparents' day, bring the child to the work day, open day you can have where you can bring your families to the workplace. Okay, be friendly to differently abled, equal rights, women rights, job security, facilitate higher studies where the organization encourage the employees to pursue their education, good work culture, etc. Now, subjective well-being. Now, what is subjective well-being? Subjective well-being is described as a process. It results from certain internal and external causes. And in turn, it influences the way people behave as well as their psychological states. Okay. And I just want my kids to be happy. Happiness appears to be one of the most important goals for the people. Or how do people get it? So those are the questions what we have to answer. Now, what can be the types of happinesses? Philosophers debated the nature of happiness for thousands of years, but scientists have recently discovered that happiness means different things. There are three major types of happiness. So, what are the three types? Life satisfaction. So, what are the examples we can quote here? I think my life is great, or I'm satisfied with my job. And what can be the causes of such life satisfactions? It can be a good income, or it can be achieving the goals, one's goals, or it can be high self esteem. So, these are the reasons why you feel that the life satisfaction. Positive feelings, it can be you're enjoying your life or you are loving others or being loved by others. And what will be the causes? You have supportive friends, you have interesting work, and you have extroverted personality. So these can be the causes. And then the third reason can be the low negative feelings. Okay. So what can be the examples? It can be few chronic worries. You're very rarely sad or rarely angry. And what can be the causes? It can be the goals of individuals are in harmony with the organization, or it can be a positive outlook, you being optimistic. So these can be the causes. So, what are the causes of subjective well being? They are external influences on the people's happiness. That is, it can be the circumstances in which they live, or it is possible for some to be happy, though they are living in poverty, or though they are struggling with their ill health, or with a child who has a serious disease. Okay, but still they can live happily. In contrast, it is easier to be happy if one has supportive family and friends, you have ample resources to meet one's needs, you have good health, but even then we have certain exceptions. So people are depressed and unhappy while living even in excellent circumstances. And people are very happy. People live happily. They enjoy their life even in an external circumstances where the living conditions are not that very good. The person is very poor, the income is not proper, but still the person can be happy. So it is the nature of the individual uh, to be happy or unhappy. Okay, so what can be the internal causes and the external causes of subjective well-being? The internal causes can be the inborn temperament or the personality and the temperament, the outlook, the way they notice the things happening, the resilience. And what can be the external? That is the sufficient material resources, sufficient social resources, or the desirable society. When we are talking about the money and happiness, will money make you happy? Yeah, it's a very big question. At a certain level of income, it is needed for a person to meet their needs. And generally, when we are talking about very poor people, they are dissatisfied whenever it comes to the income because they are not earning more, they feel unhappy. But if your money is doubled, are you, are your satisfaction levels doubled or your happiness levels doubled? No, there is no answer. So, when we are talking about the benefits of happiness, health and longevity, social relationships, what a person has, productivity, the citizenship, all these are the benefits of happiness. Positive organizations. So, what are positive organizations? A positive approach to selection and development and management of human resources in the organization has been emphasized by both scholars and professionals over the years. So, a wide variety of positively oriented, high performance work practices. It can be in terms of placement or in terms of compensation, motivation, or it can be the underlying strategies such as structure, culture, or the contributions which are well supported by the organizational performance, so on and so forth. So all these come under positive organizations. Now, quality of work life, it refers to the general well-being of individuals and societies. So, quality of life should not be confused with the concept of standard of living. So, this standard of living is primarily based on income. Standard indicators of the quality of life include not only wealth and employment, but also the built environment. It can be the physical and mental health, education, recreation, the leisure time, and social belongingness. So, what are the satisfactory conditions which include the quality of work life? It can be the group cohesiveness, how close the group works, sharing of each other's experiences, helping attitude, or understanding and sharing each other's problems, absence of conflict. It can be amongst the members, or it can be the types of relationship what they share, that is the parent children, the siblings, the mother father, or it can be the husband and wife relationship, anything. And then we are talking about the satisfying conditions, which include the aspects such as sense of belongingness, presence of positive attitude, subjective feelings of physical and mental, psychological, social, and spiritual well being, and absence of unhappy experiences. Now we have the meaning of emotions and moods. Emotion and moods vary from person to person, again from time to time. And in case of same person, he might have different emotions and moods uh, at different times. Now, what is an affect? It is a generic term that covers a broad range of feelings that people experience. And when we are talking about in an umbrella concept, it encompasses both the emotions and the mood. So, what are emotions? The intense, the strong feelings that are directed at someone or something. Okay. And moods are feelings that tend to be less intense than emotions and that lack a contextual stimulus. Emotions are always related, directed to someone or something, but whereas mood is less intense and it lacks any contextual stimulus. And what are the aspects of emotions? We have biology of emotions. All emotions originate in the brain. And it can be, people tend to be happiest, people tend to be angry, people tend to be guilt, or the dominance of guilt feeling. Okay, so it is all because of the limbic system, which provides a lens through which you interpret events. Now, intensity of the emotions, people give different responses to identical emotions, provoking stimuli. And the frequency and the duration of emotions, I mean, it all depends upon, again, situation. It all depends upon the person's uh, uh, vision or the way he's feeling, the way he's thinking about the environment, so on and so forth. And coming to the rationality of emotions, how often we might have heard, right, so many times, oh, you're just being emotional, or you might have been offended. So, when we are talking about the rationality of emotions, these are the observations that suggest that a person is in a conflicted stage, or the way you try to exhibit your emotions, you are likely to act irrationally. Now, what can be the sources of emotions and moods? It can be based on the personality, or it can be based on the day of the week and the time of the week. So, generally, Monday mornings, people often tend to be very emotional. I mean, when we are talking about their mood, I mean, they have to go back to their work, rush to their work, and the same kind of behavior can be observed Monday to Friday. or Monday to Saturday. Maybe Sunday being a holiday, the kind of approach, the kind of emotions a person shows might be different. And weather. So weather plays, it plays an illusionary correlation whenever we are talking about the way the people look at. So if you observe when it's 40 degrees and it is sunny, or when it's a gloomy, cloudy, rainy day, so definitely weather plays an influence on better mood. And you also have stress, which affects the emotions and the mood. And the social activities, the socializing. The more you socialize, the more you attend parties, the more you be with your family and friends, definitely the mood can elevate, right? You have a good mood, or you feel happy. So happiness, mood, emotions, all these are again related when it comes to the social activities. Sleep. Sleep is the best form of relaxation. So having quality sleep will definitely affect the mood. Then exercise, age, gender, these all also affect the emotions and the mood. Then we have a new term called emotional labor. What is emotional labor? It is an employee's expression of organizationally desired emotions during the interpersonal transactions at work. Okay, so whenever there is a disparity between the interpersonal transactions at work, you have emotional dissonance. So these are the situations which are to be handled by the employees. And you also have felt and displayed emotions. So what is a felt emotions? These are the individual's actual emotions. And what are displayed emotions are those that the organization requires the workers to display. Okay. So felt are actual, what an individual actually faces, whereas displayed emotions are the emotions which the organization want the individuals to display at their worksphere. And then you have surface acting and deep acting. What is surface acting? It is hiding one's inner feelings and forging the emotional expressions in response to the display rule. So the organization wants you to be very happy, keep an happy face while you're working. So that is a surface acting. What is deep acting? It is trying to modify one's true inner feelings based on the displaying rules. And then you have the emotional intelligence, social intelligence, and spiritual intelligence. What is emotional intelligence? Uh, Emotional intelligence is one's ability to detect and to manage emotional cues and information. So it can be the self awareness, self regulation, motivation, being empathetic, uh, having social skills, all these come under emotional intelligence. And this emotional intelligence will help you to improve the performance, be an effective leaders. You can have more trust and good teamwork. You have courage and resilience in times of adverse environment. Okay, so what is the OB applications of emotions and mood? You have the interpersonal conflict, or the leadership, or the motivation, or the decision making. These knowledge of emotions can help manager to understand them. So when you're selecting an employee, or whenever the manager is making a decision or motivating the employees, or the kind of leadership role the employee or the manager is performing, the kind of interpersonal conflicts and dealing with the different workplace behaviors all come under emotional intelligence. And what is social intelligence? So, social intelligence is nothing but the ability to understand and manage men and women and boys and girls to act wisely in the human relations. That is called as social intelligence. And what is spiritual intelligence? Spiritual intelligence is nothing but the innate human needs to be connected to something larger than ourselves. So the spirit is nothing but the animating or virtual principle that which gives life to a physical organism in contrast to its material elements. So these all come under spiritual intelligence. The ability to behave with wisdom and compassion comes under spiritual intelligence. So these are the terms what are specified. So working with emotional intelligence, working with social intelligence, and working with spiritual intelligence will have a varying combinations of degrees which will actually motivate the employees to perform better. So this is what the complexity of the latest terms of organizational behavior deals with. So with this, we complete the 19 chapters of your syllabi. And this is the model question paper. Uh, Out of 8 questions, you are supposed to answer any 5 in the first section. And in the second section, you are supposed to answer any 3 uh, of the questions. And the section C deals with the case study analysis. So you have to read the case and try to answer the questions which have been given in the case study. And the case study is for 20 marks. And the second section is for 30 marks. And the first section is for 20 marks. So this is how your paper pattern is given. I hope I made it very clear. Any doubts? Rajani, do you have any doubts?
No, ma'am.
No? So, all the best, ma.
Thank you
So,
so much, ma'am.
yeah, right. I'm ending the meeting. Right, bye.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Bye.